So in this segment, we're going to be talking about the UK public don't want perennial fights of a permanent Brexit with the EU. So essentially, what they're saying is the British government has no appetite for an endless battle with the EU. So I had to Google the word perennial because I'm a dullard. Lasting or existing for a long or apparent infinite time, enduring or continually reoccurring. So that's what Brexit really is, because we've had various problems because we've decided to mess around with French fishermen and in Northern Ireland. So yeah. So, the British public do not share the government's appetite for perpetual conflict with the EU, and more people see the bloc as a key future partner than the US, according to a report on post-Brexit foreign policy, which is interesting considering it's interesting. It's interesting because Brexit was meant to move us away from the EU and into the other parts of the world, and yet people see the EU as a more important kind of partner than the US. It's interesting, isn't it? I've said interesting about 4 times now. I'm sorry. The Johnson government seems to need the perennial fight of a permanent Brexit because that's all they have is the culture war. They don't do anything else. They don't help people. The report by the European Council on Foreign Relations think tank said, warning that its approach was eroding the UK's capacity to cooperate with the EU. Let's not forget that we've cut our Foreign Office by 20% as well. At the time, it said, the British public do not have any particular animus towards the EU, and while they do value British sovereignty and independence, which they couldn't really explain, they would support a foreign policy that worked cooperatively with the bloc. So essentially, we want sovereignty and independence, but we want to work with other foreign people. Polling for the report found people were evenly split on who was most to blame for the dire situation we're in. 39% blaming Brexit, 38% saying they considered the bloc responsible. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, we came up with the Northern Ireland Protocol. We decided to mess around with French fishermen, so read into that what you will. The divide was predictably partisan, with 70% of Conservative voters blaming the EU and 66% of Labour voters blaming the UK, which is quite strange because what did the other group of Labour voters think? Like, they blaming the EU for this? Weird. It was strongest amongst those who were the keen interest in politics. Yeah. However, most people were less bothered. Regardless of who they saw as responsible, 39% of the public, a majority of those with an opinion, considered the EU a key trading partner for the UK in future, compared to 22% for the US. So those people might come out and say, I don't care who's to blame, I just want the issue resolved. The survey also found a lack of enthusiasm for the US extended to the following The survey also found the lack of enthusiasm for the US extended to following it into any conflict with China, which isn't surprising considering we always jump into conflicts with America apart from the Vietnam War. 54% believing there was already a Cold War between the two, which I wouldn't argue it's necessarily a Cold War, but it feels like it's picking up towards that direction. And 45% preferring the UK to stay neutral in the event of a war, which, it's not in our interest to get involved in that because we would get murked by either side, the Chinese military or the American military. It's not a contest. We would get smashed. More broadly, the UK government's vision for global Britain aims to restore British greatness as a maritime nation, the report said, but the evidence showed it amounted to little more than a delusion rooted in remembrance of the imperial past. Because those people who think we're a great maritime trading nation, we're not. I mean, we import more than we export, and we're reliant on others. We're not this great maritime nation. Britannia doesn't rule the waves, and it kind of reminds me of this great clip from Obama, actually, which is hilarious. Watch this, guys. If you guys don't remember this is genuinely masterful stuff here.
So you mentioned the Navy, for example, and that we have fewer ships than we did in 1916. Well, Governor, we also have fewer horses and bayonets because
the world changes, We're not this great maritime nation anymore. Britannia doesn't rule the waves. It's very hard to be this great maritime trading nation when you made a name for yourselves, bullying and sinking other people's ships, being an imperial power. We can't do that anymore. We're not a great trading nation in terms of goods. The only thing we really trade is services, and you can do that with your phone. So you don't need to be in the ocean to do that. In fact, trading services whilst you're on a boat is way more difficult than if you were on land. So, I don't know. Again, these people are just those people who believe we're some great superpower or we can be a great superpower again are absolutely delusional. They're TFGs, too far gone. The British military, despite its grand traditions, no longer provides the relative advantage for the UK that it once did. If we had a conflict with a lot of the major powers, we would get smashed. The authors Nick Whitney and Jeremy Shapiro said polling showed the public was at best indifferent to the restoration of Britain as a global military power, because we'll never achieve that. The ECFR survey found only 6% of respondents favoured a UK foreign policy that prioritised Britain's military strength, while 40% said they would like foreign policy to focus primarily on strengthening the domestic economy. Again, foreign policy doesn't typically strengthen the domestic economy that much, unless your foreign policy is aimed at alienating other countries and starting trade wars with them. But clearly, most people want us to build a prosperous economy. Address global problems, e.g. climate change, 28%. 16% of people, no idea. Protect human rights and democracy. Build military strength, only 6 people. So clearly the majority of people in these polls want us to use foreign policy for good for the country or for, the rest of the world. The government's pride in seeing British naval force steam into the Pacific Ocean does not seem to inspire the public, the author said, because I don't think most people care. Those people who get really excited by seeing the Royal Navy are just weird. They said the UK could gain the prosperity and respect it craves by working with a variety of partners, exclusively triangulating between EU and US positions. That's true, but the thing is, though, what happens when those two groups kind of collide with each other and disagree, which will be very rare, but it will happen. Instead, however, global Britain had little role for it in the EU, and even after formal Brexit, Johnson's government seems to need perennial fights with the EU to justify its political existence, because this government feeds off the culture war. It needs it, because otherwise, what does it offer? Nothing. What does this Conservative Party offer to people? Unless you're rich or you're a bit dodgy, what does this government actually give to you? It was delusional to believe in the vast untapped commercial opportunities on the far side of the world that can compensate for the loss of the EU single market, the report said, and dangerous to turn a blind eye to what Britain could gain in global influence through cooperation with the EU. That's how Britain's kind of redefined itself in the last 40 odd years, through cooperation and agreements. You don't need necessarily a strong military to be an influence. That's why soft power exists. But, people in this country don't understand that. Politicians in this country don't really understand that. All they understand is conflict, But, it's evident that people in this country are getting a bit bored of these perpetual battles with the EU, especially since Boris Johnson ran a campaign on get Brexit done. Well, is it not done yet? Because what else is there left to do? Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.